So I've created a little list of stuff that we're going to try and cover, because then we can think about making sure that we've got things covered. Rachel said, just, what is it and what do we think about? So pre-race, what are we trying to organise pre-race? Then thinking about the starting area, which covers things like the line, the size of the line, where it's based, wind, tides, trying to find transits to make sure we covered that. Starting sequence, it's worth discussion, just to make sure we're aware of what the sequence is and the flags and what's going up, what's going down and other bits and pieces. Touch upon black flags. I've travelled a heck of a long way once to get black flagged. It's not a nice thing. Positioning, rules. And the big thing on the bottom of this is actually the key thing about starts is being on time, having some speed, and being in clean air. And if you can get those three, then actually position may be a little bit less important as long as you can get those three done. So, and then I think context of 707s, best thing I like about sailing is that you sail it like a dinghy. You don't sail it like a keelboat. They accelerate a bit better. So sometimes we're sailing here in mixed fleets, so you have to think about some boats, bigger momentum, are going to come in, whereas actually you've got opportunities of creating space and sailing around because you've got that bit more mobility. So pre-race. Thinking about that, firstly, it's good to be at the start before it starts, fundamentally. But then I tend to be thinking about what the weather forecast is. So I'll be looking at, whilst you're at work, looking at internet links and just checking what the weather forecast is going to be for the evening. Or actually, I sometimes get quite interested in looking at 2 or 3 days in advance. And part of that's actually thinking about what the weather pattern's going to do, so the wind. So I think from a race officer's perspective, the biggest challenge for them is actually setting a start line that is perpendicular to the wind. And then if you end up in a sequence where you're going through recalls, there might be a 15 to 20 minute difference between when you were going to start and when you do actually start. And the wind can change in that. So being aware of what the wind could be doing over time is actually worthwhile bearing in mind as you're thinking about getting to the start. So getting to the start, worst starts that I've had bad experience is we're late, everybody's gone, and we're still a minute or 2 minutes from the start line. It's not nice. The crew decide that they want to empty their bladder on the way, and that's more important than getting to the start line. So actually just being prepared to get to the start line and being there at least 10 minutes before the start so that you're settled, you know what's going on before the starting sequence takes place. And if the earlier you can get there, then actually you can get familiar with the wind strength, wind shifts, sea state, and be able to sail at the first beat once or twice and just figure out if there's anything going on that's worthwhile bearing in mind. Go on, give the secrets away. What's key things of pre-start?
Yeah, getting there 10 minutes before, at least. Probably preferably 15 minutes really, because there are various things to assess when you get there. And one of the big things is getting everybody on the boat tuned into what they're doing. And in the dinghy, as you say, it's similar but different. In the dinghy, there's maybe 2 at most. So I've sailed for my better half for a few years, and we don't tend to talk much because we don't have to, because we go out and do the same thing, every time.
Careful how you put that.
But when you've got 5 people, you have to tell them what you're going to do. So you have to tell them how you're going to go about assessing the start line, for instance. So you need somebody else to look for the transit, spread the duties around. So go to the end of the line and see if there's something easy to see. Quite often there isn't, but going through the exercise is good. Getting to know the line, so you do that from both ends. Go and try sailing up under the committee boat. You try and brief everybody where you think you're going to go on the first beat. You decide where you're going to start on the line, and who are the important people to watch. Again, spread those duties around. Get somebody to watch the people that might be important to you, and then most importantly, tell them how you're going to approach the line. I mean, for instance, the easy one is sail up on port, tack around a minute to go, maybe a minute and a half to go, depending on how many ropes there are. And then you're saying from that point, windward end or at least the committee boat end or the thin end. And once everybody knows that, then that helps a lot. My brother prefers to keep it a secret, so that always makes it more interesting.
It's key actually, the communication's really important so that everybody understands what is about to happen so that you can avoid any mishaps. I think it's important having somebody or a couple of people who are responsible for looking around and feeding information in the boat. It's quite busy before the start line. In fact, it's very busy. Probably the busiest part of the race.
If you are pressed for time, our record, we used to take the Sonata to Cape Regatta a lot, and one year, well, we got to know the staff there. Well, Heath Cairns used to have a Sonata, and he knew we were coming, he knew we were late. He had the crane ready for us. The 10 minutes where I'm not pointing the right direction, and we launched at the 10-minute gun. I kid you not, hit the water, bang, that's the 10-minute gun. We motored out at the 5-minute gun and put the mast out of Kit Marina and got to the vicinity. This sort of concentrates the mind a bit. We made the start, you've got to do a couple of turns, but it gets you what your priorities are, 2 sails up. Things don't need to be perfect, so if you are pushed for time, try and think through, well, what do I absolutely have to do? I've got to try and be near the line, so you get the motor to be there first. Don't start sailing too early, because you can do a couple of turns when you get there.
That's good.
And then just try and start best you can and make go. But that's just if you're obviously that's not to
first
follow.
Edinburgh Cup, is it? You were putting your mast up when we were leaving the pontoon.
There's something we should
And you won it.
Right.
And sorry, go around that bit about doing your turns again.
If you're motoring within the 5-minute gun, you need to, and you've had the engine on, you need to do a 2, 3. Well, it's not penalty, but
Exonerate yourself.
Yes.
Effectively.
720 under
Yeah.
before the start. You can do it before, I think, as long as the engine is off. You can do 2 turns.
You sure
Take-
about that?
No, that's an interesting. Oh, that's a good point. I'll have to look at that. If you've used the engine inside the 5-minute gun, I thought you just have to do 2
Not much
turns.
of a penalty if you do it before, to remember, but
No, well,
It isn't.
Isn't that the preparatory signal that you have to have your engine off by? Before?
4 minutes.
minutes, yes.
Yes.
You can
Yeah.
do it on
Before.
5 to 4
Yeah.
and not do anything.
Yes, he's
So it's
an
back.
old
I'm
guy,
back
so
at the 10-5.
Okay. Thinking about the structure of a start, the race officer's challenge and what they would like to do in an ideal situation is that they'll have set a pin mark, so as we refer to